This day in sports history. It's March 19th, and as the NCAA tournament is already underway, let's go back to this day in 1966 and a game that changed basketball for the better. So a steady progression here on the podcast to this point over the past 8 days. On the 12th, we talked about a secret game played in Durham in 1944 between an all-white team from Duke and an all-black team from North Carolina College, which would later become North Carolina Central. Now, North Carolina College had a great year in '44, but the NCAA and the NIT did not invite teams from HBCUs at this point. Then on the 15th, we talked about the Game of Change in 1963 when Mississippi State defied the governor and went to Michigan to play an NCAA tournament against Loyola Chicago, a team with black players. The '63 final between Loyola and Cincinnati had 7 black players in the starting lineups, the first time a majority of black players had played in the title game. Now here we are 3 years later in 1966. It was the NCAA Tournament Championship game between Texas Western, which is now known as the University of Texas El Paso, and the Kentucky Wildcats. Texas Western, coached by Don Haskins, featured an all-black starting 5 against Adolph Rupp's all-white Kentucky starting 5. Now, going back to '63 one more time, Loyola Chicago had pushed the envelope in starting 4 black players and then winning the national title against Cincinnati. That kick-started more recruitment of black athletes for sure, with leagues like the ACC and teams like Duke adding C.B. Claiborne to the roster in '65. North Carolina recruited Charlie Scott in 1966. Norwood Todman going to Wake Forest in '66. Even in Kentucky, Western Kentucky had recruited 2 black players to play for the Hilltoppers in '63. But Adolph Rupp had resisted the recruitment of black players. Asked in 1972 why he had not recruited any black players prior to 1970, he replied, "Because I didn't have to. I've always gotten the best white players in the country." On this night, it was Haskins' best 5 versus Rupp's best 5, and people were definitely paying attention. The Miners took the lead midway through the first half with some pickpocket defense, and they never gave it up.
Tommy Cron picked up in backcourt, moves over the center line on Worsley, and then Bobby Joe Hill takes it away from him and goes for a gimme. Texas Western set Cron up beautifully for that one. And it's 12-9, the Miners. They do the same thing to Dasher, and here's Hill with another gimme. Say now, this looks pretty bad. Kentucky has just gone flat-footed.
Texas Western shot 45% from the field for the game and spent a lot of time at the free throw line, hitting 28 of 34. Kentucky did not have a good shooting night. They hit just 39% of their shots, and when the game ended, the scoreboard read Texas Western 72, Kentucky 65. This game, along with Loyola Chicago's win in '63, were 2 big catalysts to schools, especially in the South, recruiting more black players. Hey, real quick, you've heard me talk a lot about the Sterling Soap Company over the past few months, and if you haven't tried out their soaps, I get it. It's not easy changing up your routine. But let me just say, if you give them a try, I'm nearly 100% certain you will have 0 regrets. They carry not only bar soap, but shave soap, liquid body soap, body lotions, beard balm, lip balm, and a lot more. Plus, there are myriad scents to choose from. Their products are made with natural ingredients and scented oils, and they are committed to being environmentally conscious. And I always get a handwritten note on my packing slip, so I know it's been checked before shipping, and it's a nice little human touch in a world that seems to be going away from that. Give Sterling Soap a try today at sterlingsoap.com. On this day in 1995, Michael Jordan returned to the NBA after nearly 2 years away. Of course, during that time, he'd spent about 17 months chasing his baseball dream in the White Sox organization. But when the strike that wiped out the World Series in '94 stretched into the start of the new year and beyond, Jordan decided to unretire from basketball and return to the Bulls. After working out to get back into playing shape, He made his season debut in Indianapolis against the Pacers on this night.
At the other guard, 6'6" from North Carolina, number 45, Michael Jordan.
That's a pretty good cheer for a guy on the other team, but then again, it was his airness. Courtside seats were going for as much as $750, which, if you put that in the old inflation calculator, works out to about $1,600 in today's money. And as you heard in the introduction, he was wearing number 45 instead of his trademark 23. The 45 had been his number when he played baseball in high school, and it was the number he'd worn with the Birmingham Barons when he tried his luck at a pro baseball career. When he came back to basketball, he said he wanted a new beginning, and it was pretty obvious that this new beginning was not exactly the old MJ quite yet. He did not score his first field goal until the 4:09 mark in the second quarter. The Pacers used a 15-3 run to take a double-digit lead in the first half, but Jordan started to get a little more comfortable and create some opportunities for himself. The Bulls came back to tie it up and force overtime, but the Pacers took over in the OT and spoiled MJ's return with the 103-96 win. Jordan hit just 7 of 28 shots for 19 points, but he had 6 assists and 3 steals in 43 minutes of action, and the second coming of the Jordan era was underway. On this day in 1991, the NFL pulled Super Bowl 27 out of Phoenix after controversy built to a fever pitch over the state of Arizona's refusal to recognize Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday as a paid holiday. In 1990, the people of Arizona voted down Proposition 301 that would have made MLK Day a holiday. Backlash soon followed. The NFL gave the rights instead to the city of Pasadena. Arizona put the proposition back on the ballot in '92, and it passed. On this day in 1961, golfer Bob Goalby rolled in 8 consecutive birdies to set a new PGA record at the time. Playing in the final round of the St. Petersburg Open in Florida, Goalby hopped on the birdie train at the 8th hole and rode it all the way through to the 15th. He was throwing darts at the pins, leaving himself only short putts along the way. He finished with a 65 to win by 3 shots over Ted Kroll for his 4th win on tour. Goalby's record was equaled 7 times before it was finally broken by Mark Calcavecchia's 9 straight birdies in 2009 at the Canadian Open. On this day in 1981, the Buffalo Sabres set an NHL record by scoring 9 goals in a period. They scored those in the second period in a 14-4 win against the Toronto Maple Leafs. And time now for today's That's Got Nothing to Do with Sports fun fact. If you know that the term jump the shark originated from a scene in Happy Days, then you may be interested to know that the concept of the Fonz getting on water skis and jumping the literal shark originated from Henry Winkler's dad. Winkler was an accomplished water skier, and his dad told him that he should try to find a way to work that into the show. Oh, and even though the term jump the shark is supposed to be the point when something begins to decline, Happy Days did another 160 episodes after this one, with high ratings. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.